preparing for a long cross country can be a bit daunting for new pilots. So today I'm going to let you look over my shoulders as I prepare for a flight from Cedar Rapids, Iowa to Knoxville, Tennessee. We'll do the weather briefing here, and then we'll go fly and see how what we see in the plane compares to what we saw in the briefing. To get started, we have a cup of coffee and a computer. I have the web version of FlightAware up and running here. And before we look at any details, I like to look at the big picture. What is going on here weather-wise. And I start with the surface analysis chart. So the route of flight is here from eastern Iowa to eastern Tennessee. The route is dominated by high pressure. We are going to go through a stationary front here in southern Illinois or Kentucky. And if I go through the prog charts here and see what this weather does over the next few hours, you can see that this will move into a cold front moving south over the next hours. And then ultimately, this is valid 12 Zulu on Thursday. So this is already valid. We saw can see the valid time down here. So the prog chart was a little older. That front moves and our entire flight will be dominated by high pressure, which usually means good conditions, and we can see that here. There's no indication of precip or anything bad. If I go back to the original surface analysis, we can see Hurricane Delta down here looming over the Gulf. So that's going to make landfall and then is expected to move inland and bring precipitation to the southeast, but not before Friday or Saturday. So good conditions expected today. Now let's see, what does that mean in detail? So I will add a new flight, starting with some very basic information like where am I departing from? Well, that's Cedar Rapids, Iowa. I'm going to KDKX, that is the downtown island airport in Knoxville, Tennessee. And I don't think I need an alternate today, but I don't think it ever hurts filing one. So I'm going to put McGee Tyson in Knoxville as an alternate. The downtown island airport has instrument approaches, but due to its location and terrain around it, the minimums for these approaches are fairly high. So should the weather deteriorate and instrument conditions require an instrument approach, for an airport like downtown island, I would like to have an alternate available. We're flying the Bonanza, and there are different performance profiles defined depending on how much power I want. I have one defined for my typical cruise setting of 20 degrees lean of peak, so that's what I'm choosing here. Route of flight, well, we're in the Midwest, and you East Coasters, Floridians, or West Coasters probably look jealously at us here, but this is almost guaranteed to be a clear direct to Knoxville, so I'm going to leave this as direct. Altitude, so we're going east. That means we need an odd thousands altitude. And let's see what we can get there with different winds. And I'm really liking what I'm seeing here. We're going to have a tailwind today, and the higher we go, the stronger the tailwind. I don't have oxygen for this flight available, so I can't go too high, but 11,000 is available. I'm going to pick that and look forward to that nice tailwind. Payload, it's just going to be me today and a little bit of luggage. The plane is fully fueled, so I'm going to put this in here, and FlightAware fills out the rest. We are 600 pounds below maximum weight, plenty of margin for performance and safety. So I expect good climb performance and overall good performance on the flight to Knoxville. And that's all the information we need here. So now we look at the nav log and confirm 2 hours 44 minutes en route. I've flown to Knoxville many times. I've never flown it in that short of a time, and it's one, the tailwind, and two, the new engine which cruises faster. 513 miles. Let me see, I don't think I put the right departure time in here. It is 9:30 now. Let's plan for 11 a.m. And it looks like the tailwind's diminishing a little bit over time, so 2:45 now. There's really not a whole lot of information here on this nav log for a direct flight. We're going from Cedar Rapids to Knoxville, and every 100 miles there's a line where it shows me at what altitude I'll be, what the wind is going to be. It's a tailwind component in each case, up to 30 knots, and then getting lower as we get closer to Knoxville. Temperature, and this is the international standard atmosphere, so whatever the normal standard temperature would be at that altitude. We're starting a little bit above standard, and then we're going to end the flight at about 11 degrees above standard, which is not good for performance, but it is what it is. And the nice thing today is, looking out the window, it's blue sky, and icing is not a concern. True airspeed will reach 165. Ground speed, well, not quite 200, but we'll get close to it. Next, I'm switching over to the briefing. That takes a couple of seconds. And that goes through a whole lot of information, different kinds of information, weather, airport information, outages for navigation facilities, and things like that. And it starts here in FlightAware at least with adverse conditions, and there isn't a whole lot. There is a runway closure here at our alternate airport, McGee. Runway 5 left, 23 right is closed for aircraft parking. Looks like they're using that as a ramp to park aircraft here in COVID times. And then I'll cycle through the other information. An AirMet for IFR weather, mostly south and west of our route, but it looks like we're hitting the eastern tip of this. And that is going to expire at 1845 Zulu, which means that by the time we get there, conditions should be VFR. And of course, we'll look at some terminal forecasts along the route to see what that means in more detail. Yeah, I can see down here, this is issued due to visibility below 3 miles in haze and fog. Got another one here. This is south of our route. This affects the Smoky Mountains. Will not fly there today. And then we have more of the same, different areas. We'll look at flight conditions here for the second half of the route, but flying IFR, so this is not a showstopper. Next is an AirMet for turbulence, and that is east of our route, and it's moderate up to 8,000. So based on our lateral route, which is not in this area, and our altitude 11,000, this should not be a factor. Then we get to the synopsis, and this looks very much like what we've seen in the prog charts earlier. We got the stationary front here. We already know this will move south, it will turn into a cold front, and ultimately be south of Tennessee, probably by the time we get there. METARs, well, there's a lot of green here. Everything is reporting VFR weather, which is really different from the AirMet. So the AirMet may already be outdated. It's mid-morning, so there may have been haze and fog to begin with at the day, but by now this is gone. Pilot reports. Well, there isn't much. Often we have a lot of pilot reports on a long route like this, but here we just have one reporting light chop from flight level 260 to flight level 240. That's a little higher than the Bonanza goes, so I'll ignore that one. And an outlook for cloud coverage. And I'll turn this to a look east because it covers the entire route here from eastern Iowa to eastern Tennessee. We can see some cloud coverage here on the far eastern tip of Tennessee, but as we go to 18 Zulu, closer to our arrival time, this will dissipate and it should be blue skies for the most part. from this forecast. Then we get to visibility and surface winds. Nothing really alarming here. We got wind from the east in Iowa, and for our arrival, light wind from the north or northeast in eastern Tennessee. Terminal area forecasts. And you can quickly scroll through this and again see this is mostly green. FlightAware does a nice job of highlighting through colors and bold font the important items that we should be aware of. Downtown Island itself does not have a terminal area forecast, but McGee Tyson does. They are for our arrival time predicting very light wind from the northeast, good visibility, scattered clouds at 25,000, and really nothing to worry about here. It's a good day to fly, and we could easily make this trip VFR today, I'm pretty sure. Then let's look at the wind chart for, it says flight level 110, so 11,000 feet. And boy, am I liking what I'm seeing here. Do you see that? We have a tailwind the whole way. The tailwind would be even stronger if we were further east, but then we'd be in that area that the AirMet shows as turbulence. So I think we're getting the sweet spot here. We're getting a good tailwind, 25 knots, diminishing to about 20, 15 knots here at the end. We're not getting into the turbulence. I don't think you could ask for more. So I'm liking what I'm seeing here. This is confirmed by the vertical cross section, and it shows wind and temperature here along the route of flight. Nothing to worry about. Above freezing temperatures the whole way, and really nice conditions. Confirmed also here in the winds aloft table. Just showing a different format, what we already know, so I'm not going to spend more time here. Then we get to a pretty big section called NOTAMs, notices to airmen. And those show a variety of information about outages, about changes from charted procedures, things along that nature. Things that we don't find in the standard publications because they're temporary or they were erroneously charted. So let's look at what we have here. So far, departure airport, Cedar Rapids. We got some obstructions. There's a tower light that they're talking about here, a tower 351 feet AGL, 6 miles from the airport. That is far enough away that I'm not worried about it. We'll be much higher by that point. And another one here in Amana, that's also far enough away to not worry about it. Knoxville, downtown island, has a bunch of towers, and I just want to see how high, how tall AGL they are and how far from the airport they are. So they're all several miles from the airport. There are some tall towers in the Knoxville area, and you can see them on a sectional chart. They're very easy to see from the air in good conditions, but if it's hazy, you want to know where those are. And yeah, if those lights are out, that is definitely worth a NOTAM. For my alternate airport, we have navigation NOTAMs about the ILS for 5 left, 23 right, but we already know that runway is closed because we saw earlier they use it for parking. We have some obstruction NOTAMs, and then again the runway closure here. This is probably all we need to know here. The nice thing is all of this information transfers to my iPad into FlightAware on the iPad, and I can review it in flight. So if I decided for whatever reason that I needed to go to my alternate, I can bring up the information then and review it. So that's part of the problem is there's so much information out there, and knowing what is relevant and what is not relevant and what may be relevant, so I want to have it accessible in the cockpit but not memorized, is maybe something that's a little tricky, and everybody goes through that a few times and then we learn that. Communication, that covers things like, well, there's a remote communications outlet here in Iowa City that is unserviceable on certain dates. There's a CTAF frequency here that was changed, so if I were to go to 1H2, that's Effingham, Illinois, So here's an example of something where the charted frequency would be 122.8. The real frequency is 122.72, and the only way to know that is to look at the NOTAMs. Special use. This is all higher. Well, I guess this one here, 8,000 to 14,000. A restricted area marked as active. So that would be in a restrictive area that's charted where the times have changed. Again, on an IFR flight, air traffic control will help me stay clear of restricted areas that they need me out of. So I'm not going to worry about that too much. Runway, taxiway, apron NOTAMs, and FTC NOTAMs. Those are interesting. FTC NOTAMs include changes to instrument procedures. So for example, if because of a temporary obstacle, a decision altitude or minimum descent altitude changes or anything of that nature, that would be published here. Same with obstacle departure procedures or takeoff obstacle notes. So we got a crane here in Cedar Rapids, 127 feet above ground level. Yeah, so I'm not gonna worry about that. West cargo ramp is closed, and yeah, I really don't care. We got wind cones with, or the windsock, that is, the lights out of service. Runway 13 PAPI out of service in Cedar Rapids. Let's see, what else do we have here? Cedar Rapids, the ILS or localized runway 27 circling minimums have changed. All right, it's a beautiful day and I don't expect to fly an instrument approach all day. So there's a bunch of changes like that. I will go to the end because that is where changes to procedures at my destination would be listed on my alternate, and those would be important to know about. All the ones along the way, well, yeah, they happen and I can look them up in flight if a diversion is necessary. And I see here the closest to my destination is Gatlinburg. Nothing really for Knoxville. So I'm good with that as well. If you look at all the NOTAMs, there's so much information and a lot of it is just irrelevant, not needed. Somebody decided it has to be included, but what you as a pilot are going to learn is how to skip over the, I don't know, 70-80% of information that is not relevant and understand the bits and pieces that are relevant and that are important. All right, that covers the briefing. So I'm going to go back here. I did not see anything in the briefing that puts our flight at risk. It is almost 10 o'clock local now, filing for 11 o'clock departure. And with that, I'm ready to select proceed to file. Quick look here, file. Your flight plan was filed. And that's it. Now let's drive to the airport and see what we find. Clear! Cedar Rapids clearance, good morning, Bonanza 70 Tango Bravo, information November, IFR to downtown Island, Knoxville.
Bonanza 70 Tango Bravo, Cedar Rapids, clearance to clear to Delta, Kilo, X-Ray, Airport as filed. Climb and maintain 5,000, expect 10,000, 10 minutes after departure. Departure frequency 119.7, squawk 3151. Bonanza 70 Tango Bravo, Cedar Rapids Tower flight, runway heading, runway 9er, clear for takeoff.
Runway heading, clear for takeoff, runway 9er, Bonanza 70 Tango Bravo. Lights are on, clear on approach, clear on the runway.
Approaching runway 09. Entered runway 09, 8,500 feet remaining.
Take off. Airspeed is alive, temperature pressure good. Positive rate, gear up.
70 Tango Bravo. Contact departure. Have a good flight.
Contact departure, Bonanza 70 Tango Bravo. Thank you, have a good day. Cedar Rapids departure, good afternoon, Bonanza 70 Tango Bravo, 1,700, climbing 5,000.
Bonanza 70 Tango Bravo, Cedar Rapids departure radar contact, I maintain 10,000.
Chicago Center, good afternoon, Bonanza 70 Tango Bravo, 8,600, climbing 10,000.
70 Tango Bravo, Chicago Center, roger, climb maintain 11,000, Molina altimeter 3018, good afternoon.
Altimeter 3018, climb maintain 11,000, Bonanza 70 Tango Bravo. Alright, by now the tailwind is diminishing a little bit. It was 190 and greater for quite a while. A little under 190 now. But, of course, much nicer than headwind. Indy Center, good afternoon, Bonanza 70 Tango Bravo, level 11,000. Atlanta Center, good afternoon, Bonanza 70 Tango Bravo, 9,100, descending 7,000. Knoxville approach, good afternoon, Bonanza 70 Tango Bravo, 7,300, descending 7,000. I have weather and notice for downtown.
Bonanza 70 Tango Bravo, Knoxville approach, Knoxville Center 3011, expect visual approach, downtown on airport.
3011 and expect visual, Bonanza 0 Tango Bravo.
Baron 828 Tango Knoxville approach, Knoxville Center 3011.
Automated weather observation, 1954 Zulu, wind 140 at 3 knots, visibility more than 0. Sky conditions clear below 12,000.
Temperature 1 Tango Alpha Knoxville departure radar contact, climb maintain 6,000, turn right heading, altimeter 30.
Inches of mercury, remark, density altitude 2400.
Bonanza 70 Tango Bravo has downtown island in sight. Would like to cancel IFR at this time.
Bonanza 70 Tango Bravo, IFR cancellation, change squawk VFR, frequency change, appears to be 1 is centered at downtown island, altitude indicates 1,700.
Downtown, that's traffic. 680, I'm going to make a right 360 out here to the north side.
Downtown Coast, Kyle 9183 left and downwind for departing to the west.
Downtown traffic, Bonanza 0 Tango Bravo, turning 1 mile final, runway 8, full stop downtown.
500.
Gas, undercarriage, mixture, prop. Three greens.
Downtown traffic, 436AT is entering a left downwind for 08, about 3 miles to the east. Downtown traffic, 436AT, about a mile and a half final, 08.